Chapter 1. Police Office, Bell Street, Dundee, January 1864. Chief Constable Donald Mackay tapped bony fingers on the desk. "What do you know about Mr. Muirhead, Waters?" "He's a ship owner, sir," Sergeant George Waters replied. "He's the managing owner of at least 2 of the Dundee Greenland Whaling Company's vessels." Mackay tapped his fingers again. "Anything else?" Waters shook his head. "No, sir. Mr. Muirhead has never come to my attention." "Why, sir, have we caught him shoplifting?" Mackay ignored the attempt at humour as his pale blue eyes fixed on Waters. "He's come to your attention now, Waters. I want you to find out everything about him." "Yes, sir. Why is that?" In response, Mackay tossed a file across the desk. "Read that, Sergeant." He waited as Waters opened the buff folder and scanned the contents. "A small vessel, Toiler, sank on her passage between Stromness and Dundee," Waters said, "and the owner, Mr. Muirhead, has her insured with 2 separate companies. Do we suspect scuttling, sir?" Mackay leaned back in his chair. "You're the detective, Waters. Take the file away, dig a little, and come back to me with your conclusions." He waited until Waters reached the door before calling him back. "Oh, and Waters, there has been an increase in the number of burglaries recently." Waters turned round. "So I hear, sir. Thefts from hotels and shops, I believe." "That's correct. Look into it, will you? Deal with the scuttling case first. I doubt that will occupy you for long. Then look into the burglaries." "Yes, sir," Waters said, and made to turn away. "Oh, wait, Waters. I have another matter to discuss with you." "Yes, sir." Waters knew that Mr. Mackay would not have let him off so easily. "I may wish to increase the detective establishment of the force." Mackay leaned back in his chair, pressed his fingers together, and watched Waters's reaction through his cold northern eyes. "Yes, sir." "What do you think of that?" "We could always use another couple of men, sir," Waters said. "Much of our time is spent inspecting pawn shops for stolen goods and giving evidence at court, rather than detecting crimes." "I'm glad you agree," Mackay said dryly. "I have the finances for only one position, with 2 officers in mind. Both will join you shortly. Use them, assess their attributes and weaknesses, and report back to me." "Yes, sir," Waters said. "I can only afford 1 more man," Mackay reminded, "so they are in direct opposition to one another." Waters returned to his desk in the duty room, where Constables Scudamore and Duff were scraping their pens over a seemingly endless pile of forms and routine paperwork. Both looked up as Waters slid into his chair. "Keep working, lads," Waters said. "We've got 3 jobs now. One is to look into the recent burglaries, and the second is a scuttling case." "And the third, Sergeant?" Scudamore asked. "We are nursemaiding a couple of Johnny Raws." Waters explained about the possible augmentation of their numbers. 2 more men?" Duff grinned. "Well, they'd better be good. Do you know who they are, Sergeant?" "Not yet." "I hope they're experienced officers and not starry-eyed young hopefuls who think policing is romantic and exciting." Scudamore dripped ink from his pen nib into the topmost document on his desk, swore, and reached for his blotter. "Which case are we going to concentrate on, Sergeant?" Scudamore asked. "The scuttling," Waters said. "With luck, we should get that out of the way in a few days, and then we can look at the thefts. I don't know when these new men will come." He flourished the Muirhead file. "This rubbish is all about Mr. Muirhead, whom Mr. Mackay suspects of scuttling one of his vessels. I'll read this thing and see if it's of any interest to us." "I've never worked on a scuttling case before," Duff said. "Most are insurance frauds," Waters told him. "A ship owner overinsures a vessel, takes her out to sea, and sinks her. Mr. Mackay wants us to see if this vessel, Toiler, follows that pattern." He looked at the empty mug beside his blotter. "I work better with a full mug of tea, though, Scudamore." "Aye, these new lads had better be good at making tea," Scudamore said, standing up. "I want none of that wishy-washy coloured water stuff." Only when Scudamore filled Waters's mug from the teapot that sat permanently on the grate did Waters open the file and study the contents. "Right, lads," he said at length. "This looks like a simple case of scuttling, but I want your opinions." Duff and Scudamore left their administrative work without hesitation and pulled their chairs closer to listen to Waters. Waters sipped at his tea. "Toiler was a small, elderly vessel without much value, so it seems strange to insure her. According to this account, she was only 35 tons, and she sprung a leak off the Red Head by Montrose." Scudamore nodded. "Yes, Sergeant." "The report here claims that as the water within